about you, there's no problems. I'll tell you what is for some people, but some people seem to, how can I say, not able to capture things. Now around here it'd be sort of a bit of a laugh because, you know, there's people here, and so there's also a social aspect. What can happen is, even at the best of times, so what you do is I've learnt to act a little bit.
Right.
Most people, in the main, so long as you're not doing anything to obviously interfere with them, they'll tend to leave you alone. But as we all know, there's always off chance that, it's not so much nowadays, but once upon a time, this would have been home to all sorts of fiends, people on crack, heroin, so it'd be quite a different situation.
This area here?
Oh yeah, I mean, would have been around there, used needles and everything like that.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. Now,
is it being cleaned up now?
Yeah, now the thing about it is there's no reason to be anxious about these. Yeah, I'll just walk around here.
Okay.
But what I can say, yeah, this will be fine.
This will be perfect.
Do this, you can do it. Hey, and I won't say...
I'll lean my cycle against the wall.
But what it is I can really, I don't know how best you want to do this, but I can put you to the test. What it is, you've got to try to, if you don't have to, you can be static, but if you like to make a bit of an action film, you know, sort of make believe, then what it is the camera has to be able to move as well. So it's a bit difficult. I often like to make believe, yeah? Make believe. And in make believe, it's the interaction between the camera crew. I've actually seen these things. And what happens is, to get a sense of movement, then it's important for the cameraman, if you can, to be able to capture that. And one way is, the cameraman to be able to move around a little bit at the same time. Some people can't do this. Some people want me to be kind of static. I should say that I'm not really, it's not really my scene as such, if you get what I mean. I will do it simply because in your case, there's something very specific. You have to remember something of me. So it's just a very simple idea from here. It's a couple of wheels, and you can use it all different things. I can also use it to play football. Well, something like football, but I'll leave that for now. I can give you an example. If I stop it, here, show you. That's a little piece of wood.
Okay.
So, and what you do is you just do this sort of thing. So this is just an improvisation. Because what I found is, there's no harm going round and round circles, right? Because I'm doing a lot of that. But what it is be able to improvise. So something like this, in itself, can help as a focal point for the mind. Because if you go around in circles for a very long time, it can affect the equilibrium. So there's no harm going around circles because a lot of things go around circles, we all know. We won't get night and day in this part of the world. In some parts of the world, it's like the sun won't set. In other parts of the world, the sun won't rise because it varies. The Earth's got a tilt, and people often say to me, why do you keep going around circles? Well, you know, a lot of things go around circles, don't they? Now what I mean is, if you try to explain this to those people, they start to get very angry. People think that you're poking fun at them. But if we wish to be scientific about it, then there's no such thing. Let's just say you were a wealthy man and you had a private aeroplane. And you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm going to do something today. And you get in your private aeroplane, which you can do very fast, and you just go in a straight line. And you keep going in a straight line. This is a fast aeroplane. You know, and I know, if you keep going in a straight line, depending how fast it's going,
it's going to leave the Earth's orbit.
Yeah, it's like the Concorde doing 2.2 times the speed of sound. That's 1,000 miles an hour. So at 1,000 miles an hour, how long would it take to go around the world? About? I'm asking a question, testing your knowledge.
I'm not good with speed of light. I suppose if it got to, if it was able once upon a time to get to America within a couple of hours,
okay, but
then I would say about between 7 to 10 hours between that. Between.
Okay, well, let me test your knowledge, roughly speaking. How wide is the Earth? About what shape is the Earth, roughly speaking? Let's just check this. Do you believe the Earth is flat?
I don't, because we have been privileged enough to see images of the Earth from space. So.
Because there's an awful lot of people who, won't accept this. I speak to people, and if you turn around, if you turn to them and say, the Earth is round, they'll say, I don't believe this. The world is about, I'm talking to somebody who's half got his wits about him. So you will probably know that according to most estimates, the Earth is they've got an idea of the size of the Earth. So the Earth, without me putting you on the spot, I think it would take about a day, because the Earth is XYZ. There's so many wide, and so if you go around the Earth, if you're going at 1,000 miles an hour, it take about a day to go. It's like you've got the satellites. You know the satellites?
Yeah.
Well, what it is these days, you've got the satellites for TV programs like Sky Sport and things, yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, a satellite's got to be the synchronous orbit. Now, what a synchronous orbit is, a synchronous orbit means that it's got to rotate at the same speed that the Earth is going around. Take the Moon, for example. The Moon is in orbit around the Earth. If you know your stuff, actually the Earth is also in orbit around the Moon. I don't know how with it you are, because in outer space, although the Earth is great size and weight than the Moon, both exert a gravitational pull. So in actuality, it's not strictly correct to say the Moon goes around the Earth. But strictly speaking, the Earth also goes around the Moon, because it attracts itself. But that's, a lot of people find that's far too technical, but what I'm trying to get across
I'm going to interrupt you, forgive me for this, but as you're talking about the Earth, I have a question about the actual Earth, and I wondered if you have an opinion on it. The question is this: in the 1800s, the population of planet Earth was approximately 1 billion people, approximately.
I don't think it's that much. It's a lot less than that.
All right.
It depends how far back you want.
In the 1800s.
Well, it's probably, I'd say it's less than that.
Okay.
But, probably a lot less than it is today.
In the 1960s, it went up to about 3 or 4 billion.
Oh, yeah, the population's increasing.
So now, we're standing in 2014 with just over 7 billion, yeah?
Oh, yeah, it's not a big
planet. My question is, with the increase in weight, would you say the weight of the planet Earth increases, decreases, or stays the same?
Well, since life has been on this planet for a very long time, then man's existence on the planet would not in any shape or form particularly, because life, in the long distance time, you had dinosaurs. So while a dinosaur is very heavy, then life, the Earth is a bit like a closed shop. What I mean is, there's not a lot which gets in and not a lot which gets out.
Okay.
It's not like there's a door to it, but the Earth has got an atmosphere. Now, we breathe air, but the air stays in its place because of the gravitational attraction. And there's a formula. If you go higher, I was reliably told this, if you live at a higher altitude, the air is not so thick. And so if you boil things, because there's like the latent heat and evaporation and all that, then water will boil at a lower temperature. So you need to cook food a bit longer. People who climb the mountains, they've got sometimes their air breathing apparatus. It's like, for example, if you go onto the oceans, if you're a diver it's like the pressure increases. And what you've got to do is be careful when you're a diver. It's something called the bends. And what the bends are is if you get under deep pressure, some other animals are able, like whales and dolphins, other fish, can dive and all that. I don't know too much about it, but I remember reading this, that a diver has to surface slowly, otherwise it gets to bends, because you get the air in the blood, it will boil, and that can cause serious death, instantaneous death. What I'm trying to get across is, just because there's more people, it's just a different type of life form, because in order to support life, we've got to understand the origins of life. In the main, and some will, things that are green, because things that are green are called plants, and plants gives, they rely upon sunlight for their basic energy, and some things eat plants, and some things eat meat, and there's different types of life, and you can separate out these different types of life. I mean, take for example a goat. A goat eats grass in the main, green stuff. I mean, I know it sounds obvious, but in the wild we can know animals by their nature. So some things they stalk. A cat will stalk an animal. A cat will, take for example a mouse. Now a mouse will not stalk a cat. In fact, a lot of people get a bit confused about this. Different animals are known by their behaviour. So it's no point trying to teach a cat. If you've got a mouse, you can try to train a mouse to cat. A cat, mice are not. It's not constitutionally possible in their temperament or their ability. It's no good trying to train a mouse to get a cat. But a cat, you don't have to train. A cat sees a mouse, it will try to catch the mice, and they've got quite a high success rate.
Right.
And we live in a world where people always seem to make it extremely complicated. If people just accepted this, that to a certain extent it's the nature of who we are and the way it's always been, but everyone, we all interfere, and interference becomes the order of the day. Because the more you try to tell people don't interfere, the more liable it is. It becomes a sort of like, I don't know any other word for it, it's sort of like an orgy, where everyone's just realising that with the increase, in that respect, the population, while the weight of the Earth hasn't necessarily increased in that way, it's as if it has. You know, it's as if like...
It feels like it, but it hasn't. Or it perhaps has.
Well, we use words in different ways. I don't necessarily feel the Earth's got heavier myself, but I am aware, for example, my own circumstances, that there was a time not so long ago, very long ago, when things seemed easier, and I'm aware more and more these days that I've got to try and not allow circumstances to get the better of me.
Okay.
I'm trying to look ahead and say, 200-300 years, well, we can turn the clock forwards even more. It's hard to imagine what the world might be like. But I suppose like the population can only increase so far. And it's like a lot of things. How individuals cope with that is arguable. You know, but presumably that will happen without necessarily any intervention on my part.
Okay.
I mean, at the present moment in time now, I've got this square. Now, some people believe the Earth is actually a cube. You know, I don't actually take that seriously, but a long time ago, one of the problems was when people took the sea, they used to believe at the edge of the oceans you'd fall off and there were sea monsters. Well, I'm not so sure about that, but people now, I mean, insofar, and I mean, I haven't travelled extensively. I've been to America, but I haven't travelled the world. But I am aware that in just about every part of the globe, there's a lot of change happening. Some parts more than others. Like in Africa, there's lots of change going on in the south, because Africa didn't have the advances. In parts of Asia, the changes are so great, because many parts of Asia are quite advanced anyway. So, you know, like the sort of change that's happening in the West,
I'm curious, when you say advances, yeah, is I'm trying to find the correct way of saying it. Have you heard of a few hundred years ago? There was a gentleman called Paracelsus. Have you
Celsius?
No, not Celsius. Paracelsus, where he said that to be close, to understand people and nature, you have to be amongst nature. And I wondered if you heard of that way of thinking.
For every way of thinking, it can be warped. So someone can make something very, very true. But one of the major problems which does face, well, is I personally can face the world we live in today, is people take shortcuts. So when it comes to nature, we've got to understand nature, what nature is. For example, as a species, although we can call the shots to a greater or lesser extent, we did that through the use of force and violence. Because to take the line for if you go back a few hundred years, now we killed a lot of the animals because a lot of animals couldn't be tamed. It's what I'm saying is we weren't always topped on as a species, and what happened is people killed a lot of animals because they realised these animals didn't like us.
Right.
Like us, because the attitude of these animals are, particularly some, obviously, it stands to reason, these animals were, who are you? What are you? But
right.
We use guns and we use things like that to kill them and to put them in their place, because these animals wouldn't understand that. And that's a terrible thing to happen, but it did. And in the same way, then we just have to, how can I say, it's all very well imagining nature, what nature is, but in reality, man did a lot to change nature, puts the wheel, so to speak. So to a certain extent, dogs have been tamed to a certain extent, and cats, and other animals, because they're small, like mice and rats, have always managed to survive. But a lot of the bigger animals couldn't hide, so they became prey to people with guns, all sorts of wrong reasons, unless people made so patent. So you'll always get this wherever you go. So in terms of nature, and also not to understand nature in the entirety. So I mean, like a fish, some fish are happy in salt water, but if you get a fish from that lives in fresh water, it's got its habitat. So, if you want to go under the water to understand a fish, you'll die. Because a person can't fly. If you want to be with nature, you've got to understand the limitations. And lots of people can't do that. They can't understand that, every species has its habitat. And so, you can try, but there's a limit to it, and also it's just as much as we'd like to imagine nature's a happy family, the reality is that that's what people want to try to create, and it's not a problem for me, but the understanding is that people the mind of individuals it's very warped, very warped. We live in an era where people are warped. Because what's happened is that they started off with stone implements, and then they started to integrate, and then knocking with spears, bows and arrows. And now, of course, with all the sort of things, there's all sorts of things which go bang, rat-a-tat, and all sorts of things like that. And so the people can't get their way, they're very liable to use force. And we know this has happened in many parts of the world. They just said, we like that, give it here, and if they don't, they'll just use violence. And that's what's been going on at the outset. So there's only so much we can do to understand the way of the world.
Okay.
I don't have to go very far. In my flat, I was giving my flat a bit of a tidy up a couple of weeks ago. And what I noticed is in one of the cupboard, there were spiders. I didn't want to harm the spiders, but I had to give the cupboard a bit of a tidy. So I couldn't have spiders in every cupboard, so I put aside one of the cupboards. I thought I'll let the spiders live there. Anyway, I put in one of the spiders. This is quite, you know, it's quite horrible actually. I put a spider in that cupboard, and another spider got it. Oh,
all right.
I'm very sensitive to these things. It was actually horrible, you know, to see a spider do that.
Almost cannibalism.
Well, I mean, but that's what they do.
That's a hierarchy of nature.
Yes, it is. That the spiders fought and it got the other one and it wrapped it up. And it's more how I understand the world. You know, I can understand the world and things like that. It's horrible, but the world's a bit like that. When I see the spider so efficiently, it's got these it will wrap it up in absolutely. That's for weeks, days. Days, I was feeling all woozy, but you know.
It's a little bit gory, but that's nature at work. That's what nature is.
Yeah.
From our opinion, it's gory.
Yeah.
Are you vegetarian?
Well, not in that way. I'm not, because I've got a slightly different. My attitude towards eating meat and plants is. I have got into some, because a lot of people think I ought to be vegetarian.
Okay.
My understanding is all life has an agenda. So even a person who says he's vegetarian, say bread involves taking your life. Bread involves taking your life. Grain of wheat. So to me, the arguments to not eating meat are not totally. It's not always. A lot of people who don't eat meat think that is okay. They don't have a full understanding, and so with me, it's not an issue. It's about understanding, and so taking the life, you know, of higher order animals to eat, it is a major concern. But my kind of attitude is that, you know, a lot of food, a grain of wheat.
It's a life form.
It hasn't got a nervous system, so people who are highly critical of meat eaters, I believe have a half understanding, because they don't understand that the taking of life is life. They do it because it's touch-feely. They don't have it for understanding. They don't like to eat meat, but they don't understand that life is life. That they believe that a grain of wheat is about pain. It's not about pain, it's a principle. It's a principle that if you take a life, then you're taking your life. So whether it's meat, whether it's a grain of wheat, if you don't do it properly, then, you know, that's the issue. So a lot of people are critical of meat stuff, not everybody, but some people say you should eat meat because, you know, it's bad, it's wrong. I turn around and say, who are you to be critical of me? You take life, it's the attitude involved. I don't believe, and I've had one of the reasons why I've had to tread my own path, because a lot of people find you can understand the argument, but still, so I've got my own path to tread. I mean, simply because of this issue about the eating of meat. So some people, it's important. Some people, they understand my arguments, but to them it's a matter of principle. They won't eat meat.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what I kind of claim. I'll tell you what.
Oh, sorry, go on.
We've been chatting away for a little while now. But what I sometimes think is good to do is to call sort of
a break.
And I'll tell you what, if you see me around again,
I'll catch you again.
Take it up from there, yeah.
Thank you very much.
What happens is, I like to sometimes, you know, I'm like that, I just got to keep moving and
all right.
Keep me involved in the film.
Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Not at all.
I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And with your kind permission, I would like to put your words, what you've spoken, onto my channel.
By all means.
Thank you very much.
Not at all.
Another time, I would like you to, your opinion on Bob Marley's song "Concrete Jungle."
Okay.
Is it a concrete jungle we're living in? I'll let you think about that. And next time, please get back to me.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Are you still called Steve?
Yes, Steve.
Okay, Steve. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, cheers.
God bless you.
Okay. I tell you, what I've got to do. I'll tell you what. It's not a problem. I know what to do. Right, this is it. This is it. I'll get this thing and I'll just go up.
Okay.